It says here we should work in teams. Who wants to be my spotter?
I don't think you should be doing too much gambling tonight, Alan.
Gambling? Who said anything about gambling? It's not gambling when you know you're going to win.
Yeah, that intro I think is staying because it is the most fitting for fantasy football right there. You're right. 37 seconds was too much time, Billy. Congratulations on the big win over there in Green Bay. Everybody, this is the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. We made it even though it's been a horseshit, ridiculous freaking week left and right. Tires blowing up, people falling off trucks, all the good stuff. But we're here. We made it. We made it with y'all, and we're happy to be here. The whole gang back together again. I, of course, if your host with the most time in his hands, Tom Simple FF. Back to my right over there, it's FF_RTDB. I didn't fuck up the handle this time. Down below there's at Big Billy FF. Boys, big week ahead. How was the game last night for you, Jacob?
Oh, man. Last night, who was playing again? Oh, I'm just kidding. It was Jaguars and the Bengals. No,
it was about that bad.
We've gotten fun primetime games constantly. I mean, even if you can make Jaguars-Bengals fun, I think outside of the opening Sunday nighter with the Rams and the Bears, and then the snooze fest on Monday night, it's been pretty much great primetime game after great primetime game. I mean, it came down to the wire. I thought this was by far Trevor Lawrence's best game of the season.
Yeah,
he showed off that bazooka attached to his shoulder on many different occasions. They let Burrow throw the ball a lot more, and he looked really solid. So it was a fun game, honestly. I hope Joe Mixon's okay. Otherwise, I mean, what a great week. I mean, Billy, man, you had the game of the week was with you guys. It must be fun watching, Rodgers and Adams do this for one last year and just teams. It's got to be a blast. It's truly, I was talking to our good friend, of course, at Dynasty Jacobian, and he was, talking about how great Jimmy Garoppolo was, which, I mean, he's not. And he was like, well, he loves them to a win. And this was right after they scored the touchdown. I was like, dude, they're 100% losing this game. I was like, I've seen this story before, and absolutely right. I never had an iota of doubt as to whether or not your boy Rodgers and, of course, Adams. It doesn't matter how many people you want to cover with him. He's unstoppable.
He might have the most boring wide receiver 1 weeks I've ever seen sometimes.
One of my favorite things on Twitter every time that happens is the same picture of a Packers fan in a crowd of 49ers fans, Cardinals fans.
Oh,
Lions
fans,
the West Coast just game. Holding out their phone, and they're just they're celebrating with a minute and a half on the clock. Nice try.
I saw that picture float all over the place.
It's so good. But it's been fun watching Packers Twitter go through every stage of grief this year.
Yes.
As soon as Rodgers reported to camp, I hit acceptance, and I've been staying on acceptance for a long time. We're riding till the end. It's been a great run. I specifically traded for Rodgers in the league of record this offseason just so I can start him in his final year. Just so I can play with him one last time.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
That fist pump after he got the spike down, that epic fist pump.
He knew it.
Tiger Woods at the Masters, man.
Imagine if the kicker missed it though. If Crosby missed it.
Yeah, I was nervous.
After the fist pump and everything, I feel like Rodgers would have just flung his helmet at him.
Crosby only misses kicks when we're trying to fire Mike McCarthy.
That's true. Yeah. That guy, I remember there was a time where the Packers were gonna cut Crosby because he was having a really rough season. And
it was when we were firing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, and then they stuck with him.
Gray 17 years ago.
Yeah, and now he's just a Vinatieri level for time, maybe not everything else, but yeah, he's gonna outlive
forever. I can't remember the last of the Packers that
it's got to have been almost 17 years now.
Yeah,
it's got to be close.
He's an old man. We drafted him.
Yeah. All right. Hey, look, last week was great and we all had a really fun time, but this is looking forward to week 4 now. Can't believe it's already here.
Almost a quarter of the way.
So many fucking storylines. Stop yawning. You're going to make me yawn. So many storylines already. Injuries and fucking maybe trades and dual ankles and disappointing fantasy starts and the ever-changing weekly rankings, which I find hilarious. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1. AJ Brown's a bust. I mean,
it's too much.
We're going to talk about all this stuff. Hence the name of the show today. Today is top trends and bad takes, because apparently every take you make on Twitter is immediately bad. Because we'll all go to www.imright.com and find the stat that makes us right, or create them. But anyway, look, every week there's a ton of news, like I just mentioned. We don't want to sit here for an hour, because that's how much time it would fucking take us to get through it all and talk about every injury and everything. So we're going to talk about some big ones, at least some semi-big ones, and ones that we maybe might care about. Jacob, is there a particular piece of news from the week so far, and I mean so far, because tonight and tomorrow it's going to be bananas, that you're overly concerned about or worried about, looking forward, changing your perspective maybe?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of midweek news, you never want to see a midweek injury ad. So the Claypool hamstring is probably one that's a little bit under the radar, just because it didn't happen in game. It was actually the other wide receiver, Juju, got injured mid-game. He appears to be fine. He's practicing in full. Deontay practicing in full. Claypool was limited on Thursday with a hamstring, which usually means pulled his hamstring halfway through the practice and then was out. And then did not practice today. He's listed as questionable. I've seen this movie before. I don't think he's questionable. I think he's questionable for next week.
Yeah, I got a legitimate question, and this is coming from a Packers fan who may be overrating my players. If Juju and Claypool are gone, just out this week, and Deontay Johnson is only
Juju's playing. He practiced in full. He's playing.
Okay, Juju.
But Deontay's still going to get 20 targets.
Yeah,
Big
so
Ben
it's going to be Juju and Deontay for sure. Claypool is questionable, and I would say like 10% chance of playing.
I got one Deontay Johnson redraft share, and I'm kind of worried about playing him.
People are asking if I'm worried about Jair Alexander. I mean, I don't know. I I feel about wide receiver cornerback matchups. Like, I think that they're a really good. I think that wide receiver cornerback matchups are a really good tool for explaining things after the fact. So, like, if Deontay Johnson does get shadowed by Jair and he has 4 catches for 32 yards, and everyone's like, oh my God, is Deontay bad now? And it's like, oh no, he actually got shadowed by Jair. I just don't think they're super valuable going in because we don't know for sure. First of all, it's like, if he actually does get snaps against Jair, like, we don't know that he's going to be playing man-to-man coverage. He might get zone reps, right? Jair might not travel. They might move Deontay all over the formation. They're going to have like a weird combinations out there with James Washington. If Claypool's like, there's just so much that we don't know that I'm just don't like the idea of like fading guys unless, like, maybe with the exception of if it's like a divisional matchup where we see these guys play every year. We know exactly how they align against each other. But in this situation, there's just so many unknowns that I'm really not that worried about it. I'd be starting Deontay with a lot of confidence. I think he's still going to get a lot of targets. And we saw Brandon Ayuk roast Jair Alexander for a beautiful touchdown last week. So, he's a mere mortal.
I wasn't going to bring this statistic up because I don't think it's terribly important. But in reference to that, that was the first touchdown that Jair Alexander had given up within 5 yards since 2019. Which is just a fun statistic.
Good, man. He's just that good. Yeah. Nice to have him back. That was an absolutely sick route that he ran on Jair.
Yes. Yeah. Wish he could have caught the other one.
Yeah, but he caught one. And that's all we need. We're good. We're good.
If I'm looking at stuff to be really paying attention to, outside of the obvious, right? The Dalvin Cooks situations, right? I mean, I'm looking at the news that both Julio and AJ Brown are out versus the Jets.
Nick Westbrook Akine season.
Yeah. I think this is just we're just going to run Derrick Henry because there's no way we're going to lose. So why worry about putting our receivers out there to get hurt? I personally think that's what this is. Bud Dupree's out, Kern out, AJ Brown out, Julio out. Other than that, Tyler Lewan's going to play full participant. I think Derrick Henry's going to have 45 touches.
Derrick Henry's going to be a very full participant.
I think that's all that news is. I'm not worried about either receiver personally.
I stopped and thought about it. If the Titans just brought in all their wide receivers to block and just played every defender on the line, I think Derrick Henry could still run for 200 yards.
I mean, that might be the game plan. Like this is the second straight year we've seen this against the Jets. Remember that COVID game for Cleveland when their entire wide receiver room was a close contact risk, so they had to play against the Jets with exclusively running backs and tight ends. And it was just like Chubb and Hunt. They just kept running them, and then they'd throw it to them. Like Henry might
Jets
actually
won that game, though, right?
Yeah, because believe it or not, it's hard to run an offense without any wide receivers.
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie Stanley being out is a big deal for Baltimore again.
I'm interested to see what happens with the Titans game. I think the Jets are probably going to be pretty competitive in this game. I mean, they're going to stack the box so hard. Like they're going to play 8-9 guys in the box. I mean, they're going to be so content to let Westbrook Akine, Chester Rogers, and Josh Reynolds try to beat them in one-on-one situations. Yeah, they're going to sell out so hard against Henry. I'm really interested to see what happens in that game. Like Henry's going to be fine for fantasy. He's going to get a million touches. Yeah. All he needs to do.
Big boy Henry.
Yeah.
Look, there's a ton of news out there, so we don't really have to sit here and hammer home. I just want to mention: is it weird that the Chargers are one of the healthiest teams in the NFL for once?
Yeah, it's
like that is one of the weirdest trends I've ever seen when it comes.
I think it's being offset by the other California teams.
Just for the Chargers sacrificed everyone else just so they could be healthy. I think
the Chargers are sucking the life force.
But all of the other always injured teams are still always injured. Like the Colts have half their team out. The Giants are injured. I mean, they've lost Shepard and Slade.
The Ravens will have a defense this week, so I'm happy for that.
Who's the other team that's always in? Oh, Philly. Yeah, shockingly,
49ers.
It's been 3 weeks, and Philly doesn't have an offensive line already every year.
Are you guys? I just want to ask this: are you? You know what? We'll talk about that. The Trent situation. We're not going to talk about it now. Look, we're going to take a quick minute. We come back. We're going to do Billy's Stat Corner. If you don't know Billy's Stat Corner, we're going to explain it. Jacob and I are going to try not to suck this week. We almost came out of nowhere and won it last time. Right. So we're going to do Billy's Stat Corner when we come back. So sit tight, hold in there. All right, so if you haven't played Billy's Stat Corner before, this is how it works. Billy is our stats guy. He always finds the most outrageous, ridiculous, out of nowhere statistics. And Jacob and I like to think that we're smart humans when it comes to football, and we try to take them down. I don't have the record up this week, but I'm pretty sure it's like 11-4. No bueno good for us. We are jobbers. So this week, I'll open that for you. So this week, just put it right there. This week, look, this is how it works. We get 3 strikes. We get 1 hint to try to take down Billy's question of the week. So, Billy, why don't you hit us with this while I open Aaron's wine here live for everyone.
Now, on the now famous Full Tilt Podfather episode, I pulled out one of my favorite statistics I've ever found, and that was that Jacoby Myers in 2020 was top 7 in both target share and air yards share.
Yeah.
Just a great stat.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing.
Oh, I feel like you're going to lose. I've been grinding the target share and air yard share this week.
I know this is a good one, but I like all the characters who fit into this category.
Okay.
Now, I was going to be mean and include OBJ in this just because he played one game.
That wouldn't have been mean. I already wrote him up in the DFS column this week, baby.
Yeah. Just a fun statistic that
31% of the targets and 49.2% of the air yards.
But so now the question is, who are the other 3 players who are top 9 in both target share and air yards share?
All right, Jacob, I think you should have this pretty.
Brandon Cooks is number 1 in both.
Yep.
Yes, Brandon Cooks is number 1 in both. That's the important statistic. That's the fun one.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is number 1 in both. He has like a 37%. And 58%.
He's like 56 in air yards.
I think it's 37 and 58,
which is just absurd.
I got to give a shout out. I got to give a shout out to the Podfathers TikTok for giving me that information.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm staying up to date.
He's out on your TikTok.
That stat's been all over.
So that's one. That's one. That's a quick one.
I gotta think that Cooper Kupp is in the mix, right? I mean, he's been like lighting the entire world on fire. I know he is for sure for target share. Maybe not air yard share, but actually, well. Maybe not air yard share because 49-year-old anti-Semite Deshaun Jackson caught a big bomb.
Anti-Semite.
And then Van Jefferson caught that bomb in week 1. I still think it's plausible that Kupp is in the mix. I'm trying to think of other options. Debo,
Devontae Smith
in that mix.
No, maybe not after last
not
week.
In targets, I don't think anymore. I know that there's guys like I know Ridley's air yard share is really high, but he's not. What was it? Top 9 you wanted?
Top 9, yes.
Yeah, he's not top 9 in target share. I think he's just outside of that, I believe. Although it could be him.
Oh, what about it? I say it every week, but
Adams
Hollywood.
is always interesting. Hollywood is definitely potentially interesting.
And with fucking drops.
Hollywood's potentially interesting. Has his target share been that high?
Oh, it's got to be like 23 plus. Has to be.
If
I know
Watkins
share isn't.
It's got to be like 30%. It's got to be 30% because I know Ridley's at 26 and he's not even in the top 10.
Okay.
Target share wise.
Fuck, that's gonna be tough then.
Well, okay, Devontae Adams is always a potential.
Oh, he's got to be, but air yards.
Yeah, he's been getting some deep work. He got concussed on a deep shot. Well, not concussed apparently.
Yeah, that was such bullshit, by the way.
Jamar
Chase, no.
No, it's not Chase. That's not the target share.
Damn.
Cup, Debo, and Adams seem like the guys that are. Let's pick one of them. Let's go to guess. We've already got one
Adams.
Down, 2 to go.
We could go Adams. We'll go Devontae Adams.
Adams is not on the list.
For what? Which reason?
Which
air yards?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Give me 30 seconds.
Sure.
No, you don't have to, no, that's bad radio. You don't have to look it up. That's fine. I just thought you'd be prepared.
I just want to call him out. The air yards share.
It's not in the air yards.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
I will keep that tab open. So
all right. So do you want to try one more blind guess before
DJ Moore?
Oh. Moore could be interesting. I'm trying to think of his.
My two are not so shockingly are Moore and Brown, just because that Lions game.
I like Moore more than Brown. I don't think Brown's there in targets because Watkins has been getting a lot of targets too. Actually.
Yeah, he's over 20%. So
I like Moore. Let's guess Moore, and then if that's wrong, then we'll go into the hints.
Okay, we're gonna go DJ Moore for our third guess.
DJ Moore is not.
I quit.
He qualifies for target share, but not air yards.
Oh my gosh!
All right. Okay.
Let's get a hint going.
Yeah, we'll take our hint. No, not Rondo.
No, not Rondo. No.
All of these players have played in the playoffs since 2019, or their teams have been to the playoffs. I feel like
that is
a bogus hint.
We're
calling bullshit on the hint.
All right. Okay, well, the guy that I want to guess is going to be Cup because Cooper Kupp has just been like ending my life in DFS the last 2 weeks. And if I don't guess Cooper Kupp and then he's the correct answer, then he's just going to own me once again. I'm just frankly sick and tired of being owned by Cooper Kupp.
He is
that's
second
who I
in
would
the
like
league.
to guess.
He's second in
if
the
you
league
overrule
in
me, then
targets.
that's fine.
No,
I absolutely know he has the targets. Like that's
look,
not even
White
a question.
Mamba is definitely the player that I can hang my hat on as a Cup.
Cooper Brian Scalabrine Cup.
Exactly. We'll go Cooper Kupp.
All right.
Cooper Kupp is there in target share, but he is not in air yards.
Okay.
Y'all were killing the air yards.
Oh my god, these fucking air yards, man. I'm sick of these air yards.
I thought you were grinding.
So Jacob mentioned one. Jacob did mention Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
Who was on the list.
Fucking Deebo.
And then the other one was the one that I thought would probably get. I mean, it makes sense that he's there, but he just hasn't done a whole lot. So I felt like he might not have been picked. It's DK Metcalf.
Oh, I would never have guessed that. Actually.
No, I wouldn't guess the target share.
Yeah, Metcalf has been like Metcalf has not been Metcalf to start the season, which is weird.
Yeah, well, the reason I didn't think of Metcalf is because he had a really good week 3. So all the guys that I've been like grinding are guys that have been not producing. Mostly, right? Okay. So like I've been digging deep into like Diggs. I've been digging deep into Ridley. After week 2, I was digging deep into Jefferson. But yeah, Metcalf had that big week 3. And everybody likes him again. I was like, all right, well, I don't need to care about you anymore.
Yeah, like fuck, that's another L for the boys here against Billy.
Yeah, we should have got Debo.
I just refuse. I refuse. Part of the problem is I refuse to acknowledge Debo as a good player. So it helps limit. I'm getting like Debo's kind of my daddy right now for how much I have faded and talked shit about him. But don't worry, Ayuk's rebounding. It's coming. It's going to be.
I feel like it's worth talking about the fact that the running joke last year was Debo had multiple games with a negative average depth of target.
Yeah, and now he's right up. Yeah,
top 9 in air yards share.
Yeah, and fantasy football, if not anything, it's hard for us to acknowledge players who have scorned us for years.
Definitely.
So that's why the Mike Williams thing, which we'll also talk about right away. in his trends right now, and
straightforward.
his value right now is going through the fucking
I'm
roof.
pumped talking about Mike Williams.
Yeah.
That guy, yeah, he's crushing.
Yeah, let's just get into the next segment so Jacob can dive in.
We're gonna be right back here.
I like that one.
Look, I just got to remember which one it is.
Did you?
Look, every year, fantasy football has trends that start the year. Some of them pan out, some of them die. Hearts get broken, trades get made out of haste. It's this dynasty. This is the time to not overreact to things. I saw a lot of people pay a lot of stuff for Darren Waller after week 1, and since then he's been not the big guy, even though another trend I want to talk about is Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Guys, the first trend I want to open with, it's a team specific. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Today, offense coordinator Matt Canada
shout out to Canada, by the way.
We're going to stick with what we're doing.
Good plan.
Quote.
Great plan.
This is bad sign, in my opinion, for the offense. They're going to finish. They could definitely finish as the worst team in that entire division. Just because Ben, the question I want to ask you guys for today, does Ben finish the season? And in fantasy, is he playable at all in any format? Because he looks fucking horrendous.
He's so cooked.
Quite clearly holding that entire team back.
I'm not sure which play was my favorite from Ben. I would say the nominees were probably the one where he fell over like a beached manatee as he was releasing the ball. That was one of them. Definitely another was the one where he was kind of trying to do the classic Ben thing where he's shuffling around in the pocket, but then eventually he just got caught and fell over. And then I think the one that really took the cake was the 4th and 10 where he didn't even look to the end zone and just immediately dumped off to Najee Harris, who had 3 tacklers right in front of him and had no chance to pick up any yardage whatsoever. Look, it made my eyes bleed. I think that Ben is probably still a half decent starter in super flex leagues as QB2 because they just keep throwing so much. So he's going to have plenty of games where he's going to have, 50 pass attempts for 280 yards. And if he puts up 2 touchdowns with that, then he's going to give you, a totally serviceable 16 to 20 fantasy points a week. So I don't think he's going to kill you. I mean, he looked cooked last year, and for most weeks he was compiling and accumulating adequate fantasy points. Will it be pretty? No. Is the floor high? No. But I think that he'll definitely kind of limp his way into mediocrity more weeks than not. But I mean, geez, he's not a target. I traded him in the league where I lost a couple quarterbacks to injury. I was able to get him for a 23 third. So that's where the market's at on Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I ask, and Billy, I'm going to go to you with this next bit, is the schedule is not favorable, right? The AFC North has a tough schedule coming up, right? But he has put up 32 attempts, 40 attempts, and 58 attempts.
19 targets to Najee Harris.
There was Najee I'm going to direct the question over to Billy on this. Najee Harris seems like he has a ridiculously outlandish Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley workload coming his way. Do you think that's sustainable as the receivers get healthy, Billy? And is this a situation where Ben might help the players around him in fantasy and he is still bad and that team is still bad and will struggle to score? Or do you think there's a turn coming maybe when they start handing the ball off a little more? What is best right now for the outcome in Pittsburgh?
Okay, you gave me like 17 trends to comment on there at the end.
Pick your favorite, William.
No, I don't think the 19 targets to Najee Harris is going to keep up. There's no way. Like that. That's two Christian McCaffrey games like stacked on top of each other. Like that. There's no way. The entire wide receiving core was hurt in that game. Like there's no way that is the way they're going to run that offense. I recorded probably my favorite moment I've ever recorded when I declared Ben done on the review this week, right as a massive thunder strike happened. Like Ben is done. Like we no longer have the situation where Ben is a game changer for the Steelers.
Well, he's QB
Like,
27.
Well, he is changing the game. He's ensuring they lose.
He's changing the game for the worse. But like they're not going to win because of Ben.
That's for sure.
But they're in a situation where they don't need Ben to be this phenomenal player to win. Like last year, we forget that they had a really good defense and they have a very, very talented skill position like core around him.
Mm-hmm.
All this being said, like I don't want anything to do with Ben Roethlisberger in Superflex. He's the break glass for when I can't get Taylor Heineke off of waivers. But like all of this being said is like
Tay.
Pittsburgh is so scary.
You're making a good point because that league that I traded for Ben, I also got Heineke off waivers. So like the same day, because I have Lance in that league and I have Kyler, and then I lost Fitzpatrick and I lost Tua, and so I was like, oh shit! All of a sudden I need a quarterback, and so I got Heineke off waivers the same day I traded the 23 third for Ben, and Ben has not yet seen my lineup. I've been going with Heineke.
I trade Ben for a 2023 third and Heineke.
Look, like I said, he's a QB 27. I don't see this changing much throughout the course of the year. I think this is what you're going to see, even in games where they're getting blown out. And their offensive line is bad. Their offensive coordinator is stubborn. I think I'm kind of wanting to bail on everyone except for, again, Claypool and Deontay and now Harris. I think it's going to be rough there. So I expect what you're seeing out of Pittsburgh, I expect that trend to continue. So be wary. Don't think that there's just going to be some Pittsburgh turnaround here. One thing I want to talk about
quick, I can't help but feel as though this Najee rookie year, he's not as good, like not even anywhere near as good. But the usage wise, it reminds me of rookie year Saquon with washed up Eli Manning.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. A little bit.
Yeah, just less explosive, less talented,
but
older
target
running back.
Like he could get 130 targets like Saquon.
I just watched
100%.
Najee get 19 targets. I'm still standing by my take that no rookie running back finishes in the top 15.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think think Najee's going to be an RB1, man, especially in PPR. He wasn't even good. He was healthy. Shit. He dropped 2 passes, like Stone dropped 2 passes. He could have had 16 catches.
That's fine when he's not getting 14 targets and he's getting 5.
He's like going to get 5.
Like
okay. guys.
Okay, we need to move on from Pittsburgh. Okay. Pittsburgh's gotten too much air.
This is the Full Tilt Steelers podcast.
God, Steelers bashing, and that means I'm okay with it. One trend that's currently happening in New Orleans right now, which is horrifying and completely unexpected, but I expect to change when Michael Thomas comes back, is that they are last in passing attempts in the entire NFL. They only have 390 yards, but they do have 7 touchdowns. What's weird about this is Alvin Kamara isn't exactly setting the fantasy world on fire. Not saying that he has been a complete bust for fantasy. Eddie had a pretty decent day last week, but he's currently sitting at the PPR 14. For a team that was supposed to funnel their offense through Kamara, do you see this trend carrying on for Alvin, Jacob, or are you buying into the late season, mid-season turnaround, especially when MT comes back?
Somewhere in between. So I think that it's definitely not going to continue that he's the RB14. I think he's still squarely in at least the mid-tier of RB1s. But I had him as the 102 coming into this season just based off of what I was expecting to see, such a massive target share, which is really what has always made Alvin Kamara so special. He's seeing more carries than he's ever seen. I mean, he had 20 carries last week. Thing is, I just don't really care about that for especially Alvin Kamara, right? Like he's not Nick Chubb. He's not Derrick Henry, where he's going to create tons and tons of value as a running back, as a rusher, right? He's a good rusher, but that's not what makes Alvin Kamara special. What makes him special is his ability in space, ability as a receiver. If this is becoming more of a run-heavy offense and the Alvin Kamara profile shifts from 10 carries and 10 targets to 20 carries and 5 targets, well, that's not really making him as special as I want him to be. So at this point, I think he's comfortably behind McCaffrey when healthy, Cook when healthy, Henry, who is now a PPR monster, apparently.
Yeah.
That's new. So I think he's like sort of at best right now, I think, is the RB4. And I think that there's a conversation between Kamara and guys like Aaron Jones, guys like Barkley, who now seems back to full health. Potentially Najee, we just talked about, Swift, Eckler. I think he's more in that second tier of running backs, even if he's probably leading it off. So I think things will get better. But, one of the big reasons we wanted him was because of the big target share without Michael Thomas. When Michael Thomas comes back, maybe they pass more, but a lot of their passing attempts are going to go to Michael Thomas. So, we'll see. I think Kamara is a mid-range RB1 moving forward.
Billy, when you're looking at the New Orleans Saints, do you think that Michael Thomas coming back, if he is healthy, I think it's week 6, he's allowed to come back.
Mm-hmm.
First off, do you think he will come back? And second, do you think when he does come back that they're going to look a little bit more like themselves and they're kind of just treading water at this point?
I mean, I see no reason that he wouldn't be coming back. I've heard nothing outside of a couple weeks ago. He went on COVID IR for a couple days and then came off. Mm-hmm. But I completely expect him to be back. In terms of them being themselves, the Saints have been like the weirdest team in the NFL this year. Like, people keep harping on some other groups, but I think the Saints have been the most strange. They went out and looked like Super Bowl contenders against the Packers week 1. They looked absolutely god-awful against the Panthers in week 2. Then came back and had a decent week 3.
You didn't like the Jameis Winston, I was trying to throw it away, but God propelled me to a touchdown performance by Winston.
I mean, that's what you want to see, is God getting involved in the passing game.
Yeah,
look, if God wants to back the Saints, I'm not going to challenge it.
Look at that! Look at that!
If that's it, if I have to have a coming to God moments to back Michael Thomas, that's fine. But I mean, when he comes back, like, I don't think he's going to be back at who he was. What was that, 2 years ago? But I mean, he's Michael Flippin' Thomas, regardless of who you think he is.
Billy, you can swear on this show. We're not on.
Hey,
he's
a good
Michael
Christian boy now.
Thomas. But besides all of that, I don't think he's going to come in and set the world on fire. But in 12 games, Michael Thomas should be pushing and having 1,000 yards and a couple touchdowns. It's Michael Thomas. I don't think he's going to be the absolute game changer, but I think he's going to help a lot on this offense.
Okay.
Like, Alvin Kamara's efficiency has looked really bad, and he's been facing a really stacked.
It'll be nice to give them something else to think about, right? Like, it'll be nice to have 2 dynamic playmakers that they actually have to worry about instead of Kamara and a bunch of dudes.
Instead of Marquez Callaway.
We hyped Callaway to no tomorrow.
He got a touchdown.
And yes, he did. But he has looked bad. The entire receiving core there has looked bad. Sean Payton looks frustrated.
Frustrated. To read off the famous quote, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating group of receivers. I wouldn't be surprised at all if honestly, if we see Callaway look at least a lot more efficient when Thomas does come back, right? I mean, he's on a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL.
Exactly.
It was a fun bit while we were doing it. That shouldn't have ever been considered the most likely outcome. It's tough when you're sort of the best wide receiver amongst a bunch of freaking terrible practice squad wide receivers. Yeah. So
Jacob's trying to take the oil out of the fire.
Yeah, so it's like when Thomas comes back, it probably makes his whole offense better because it gives them 2 really elite playmakers, and it opens up some space for guys like Callaway and Harris and Jawan Johnson and all these other dudes to work a little bit more.
I think
100%.
I know we talked about this earlier, and Jacob said he doesn't appreciate it. But like, every team in the NFL, sans a couple of them, has a pretty good cornerback. And I'm going to take that cornerback over Marquez Callaway in most cases.
Yeah.
Just in terms of that situation. But I mean, J.C. Horn has looked great, unfortunately, going on IR. But I mean, Marquez Callaway couldn't do anything.
One player I want to talk about for trends, I think it's appropriate to talk about this player. Look, we've seen this movie before with Derek Carr. We've seen the movie. right? You get in, here comes a sequel. They've let you down time after time, but all of a sudden they're advertising with a new, fresh cast around him. Some side characters getting moved into the leading roles here with Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards the last couple of weeks, and now Peyton Barber, apparently. Derek Carr is currently the leading league leader in passing yards, and he's top 10 in fantasy points per game. Is this a trend that we see coming or staying going? Jacob, are you buying in, or are you just riding the wave while it lasts?
I'm buying in. I like Derek Carr. I've always liked Derek Carr, and he's always been a really good deep thrower. He's just never thrown deep a lot. And John Gruden in the last couple of years has been one who really wanted to establish the shit out of that motherfucking run. And this year, I mean, maybe it's just because they've had Josh Jacobs out. We'll see what happens when they come back, or when he comes back. But he's been very much more willing to let Carr air the ball out. And these young receivers are making plays, man. Like, both Ruggs and Brian Edwards have made critical plays in critical moments of the games. It's not only hyper targeting Darren Waller over and over and over again. So he's got a fun array of weapons. He's got Waller as that clear alpha. He's got Ruggs as the threat over the top. He's got Edwards as that contested catch down the field guy. I'm really into what this passing game is doing. I think Derek Carr, is he going to lead the league in passing? Probably not. Do I think he can be a high-end quarterback too for the rest of the season? Absolutely, I do.
You don't think he's going to creep into that top 12 by the end of the year with how they're going? Or do you think Gruden is just too stubborn to let go?
No, I mean, maybe he could be in he's going to be in that range, I think, where, similar range like what we've seen out of Kirk Cousins for most of his career, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's sort of living as that really high-end QB2, really low-end QB1. He's not going to get you a whole lot on the ground. You're feeling good about. He's the guy that you're feeling good about as a streamer every week, as long as he has a decent matchup. I think he could be top 12. I don't know. Maybe he'll be QB 11. Maybe he'll be QB 14. I think he's going to live right on that borderline.
He finished at QB 14 last season. He had a pretty good year.
But that's not points per game. That's like overall.
No, overall. That's correct.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to mention before I pass my next question off to Billy here, before we move on. Look, Henry Ruggs, not only getting those deep shots, they just barely missed another one. They're figuring out how to use them. But he went up over the middle of the field on a contested catch and just looked fantastic. So kudos to him. I'm actually happy to see a player that everyone shit on last year succeed. I'm happy to see Brian Edwards get his 4 for 80. Seems to be weekly now, so good for him as well,
baby.
Billy, the running back management in Oakland is in Vegas looks kind of worrisome. We know that Gruden is too stubborn to really let go of it. Peyton Barber had a big game thanks to overtime. Kenyon Drake was also on the field. Now Jacobs is getting healthier. Do you see a 3-headed monster in Vegas? And are the prime days of Josh Jacobs being the guy kind of over? Because even in week 1, Kenyon Drake split snaps with Josh Jacobs. So we don't know if that was health. He hasn't been healthy the whole time. Do you see Josh Jacobs returning to his dominant workload, which kind of was what made him viable? Or are you completely done with him at this point?
All right, I'm going to tackle that in a second because I did want to talk about Derek Carr and I didn't get a chance to. Maybe I'm too apt to dive into logic. Derek Carr has played an extra half football game this year, and he's been in a completely competitive game script the entire season. He has not had a chance.
Yeah, they played Pittsburgh. That wasn't that competitive.
And Pittsburgh kept them going. It kept them in that game. They have not needed to not rely on Derek Carr all season.
Well, they're in the top half of rushing attempts as a team. Still.
Sure.
It seems like the extra half.
I'm not buying into their defense being this dominating, looking like their line looks amazing every week. But Derek Carr, I think, is an anomaly. I think he's fun. I think he's going to probably pushed to where Jacob said he was going to, but he has played an extra half a game this year.
But the neutral pass rate is huge. Like their pass rate on early downs in neutral situations is top 5 in the NFL, and that's never been anywhere near the case with Gruden in the last 2 years. I think that's a legitimate change.
That's fine. It was top 5 in the NFL for an extra half a game too.
Oh my God, Billy!
Look, I'm happy.
Billy,
I love Derek Carr. I'm a Derek Carr fan. I just don't think it's going to be at this level for the entire season, which I think is the same thing.
Because anyway, you can reach pretty far with that take there, but
anyway, no, Josh Jacobs is not done. Like, he's not done for fantasy. Like, Peyton Barber is absolutely bad. Like, Peyton Barber is the player we're going to reference next year when the 49ers draft a first-round running back to replace Elijah Mitchell. Like, that's exactly who we're going to reference. We're like, Peyton Barber went in on short notice and ran for 100 yards. Josh Jacobs is not done. Josh Jacobs isn't going to be this top-end running back we were hoping he was going to be when he came out. They don't want to give him the passing work. They brought in Kenyon Drake to do that. Kenyon Drake has been surprisingly kind of decent in a backup role this year. But, like, Josh Jacobs is not done at all. Yeah. Like, he's 23 years old.
Right. He feels like he's 33.
But here's why I asked, though, because Josh Jacobs has been a guy, and I know we poke a lot of fun on the show with James Robinson, right? And we also take a lot of shots at some really bad takes. One particular about Josh Jacobs every year, it feels like at this point. But he's a guy that has relied on touchdown volume, which we know isn't sticky, and a ridiculous amount of opportunity. So at this point, they're working in Drake. Now they have another option.
But they've always worked in
passing,
guys.
but they're passing the ball more than they have in the past.
But that just means their offense might actually be good. Like,
right.
Like, the thing is, like, I don't really care. Like, Josh Jacobs has never been. He wasn't even efficient either. Like, he averaged under 4 yards a carry last year. So if they're gonna give him less carries between the 20s, like, I absolutely take it or leave it. I really don't care. Like, the Jacobs thesis. I mean, first of all, we're now spending like 5 minutes talking about the most boring fantasy profile on earth because he's gonna be the same as like Peyton Barber is gonna get sent right back from whence he came, and Jacobs is gonna be fine. Yeah, I don't know. Will he get 17 carries a game instead of 20? Maybe. But, like, what do those 3 carries really matter? He was probably going to get 10 yards on them. So that's 1 fantasy point, and he's a little bit less likely to get injured. Honestly, I call it a wash. Like, he's still probably not going to get the pass game work because he's never gotten the pass game work. And then every week we're going to have the same conversation about Josh Jacobs. Oh, did Josh Jacobs not score a touchdown this week? Oh, he scored 8 fantasy points. What a bust. Oh, wait, he scored 2 touchdowns this week? Oh, my gosh, 20 points. How are you fading Josh Jacobs? Like, it's the same thing. Like, it's just we're just playing pin the tail on the touchdown for Josh Jacobs.
So he's basically an every week flex no matter what still at this point, even with their pass volume. Okay.
The touchdown statistic, the touchdowns are sticky, does not apply as much to running backs. Like, that's a very good statistic on wide receivers, but historically there are running backs who just get touchdowns and that is their job. And Josh Jacobs has profiled as one of those running backs.
Okay.
But he never just gets 1. He only either scores 0 touchdowns or 2. That's the only 2 options. He never has games with just 1 touchdown.
Seems that way. Yeah.
He scores 100%. Them in even numbers only.
And you always know because Twitter is all about it when they do. Look, one thing. Sorry, what were you going to say before we move on?
No, it's fine. Josh Jacobs. We don't need to talk about it.
Josh Jacobs, he says. That's fine.
Do you still have Josh Jacobs, by the way, in Clear Eyes? You're still hanging on, hey?
Yeah, I still got him.
I think I sent you a first.
Yeah, I thought I sent a legitimate offer, but you're like, go fuck yourself. So
basically,
we're done with that.
Kenny Gainwell and Irv Smith.
No, I sent you 2 seconds in De'Ami Brown.
That's still, I sent you a better
about what
one.
He's worth.
Look, one thing I wanted to do this week, or the boys wanted to do, I just wanted to talk about a couple players that I've seen on the TL, and a couple teams I've seen on the TL the most this week so far. I want to talk. I got Billy and Jacob to bring some players here. We're going to talk about values a little bit and their trends. So players that we're going to buy high. everyone's going to bring one player who has been producing for the first few weeks, and they are convinced that this will continue. It's worth it to buy at the value of that production and ride it out moving forward. Billy, I want to start with you on this.
Yeah, this is a very dynasty-oriented take. I'd go out and spend just about anything I could to get Ja'Marr Chase right now.
Oh my God, you're one of those fucking people.
Like I'm not going
Jesus.
I'm not going to proclaim him as wide receiver 1 like some people.
Well, if you're not going to proclaim him that, then good luck.
But like Ja'Marr Chase.
Jacob, he had 7 for 77.
Ja'Marr Chase had a really good profile, but he only did it for a year. And then we went into the preseason. He looked shaky, finally playing football in a competitive sense again for the first time in a year. And all of a sudden now he comes out. He has 4 touchdowns the first 3 weeks of the season. Like, he just looks like Ja'Marr Chase. And he's done that against some pretty decent defenses. I mean, fuck the Minnesota Vikings, but everyone else, like, he's played some solid games as an NFL wide receiver. And it's to the point now where if he's going to increase from here, if this is not his ceiling, he's going to be producing as a wide receiver 1 for the next 5-6 years. Like, if you can go out right now as a contender, as someone who has the opportunity to do this, I'd give so much to get Ja'Marr Chase right now.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. First of all, I love Ja'Marr Chase. Okay. Love Ja'Marr Chase. I had him as my wide receiver 7 in Dynasty overall before the season even started. I didn't move him down because he dropped balls in preseason. So I like Ja'Marr Chase, but the takes that I'm seeing on the timeline, and they've now leaked into actual leagues, it seems, based on what I'm seeing over at Keep Trade Cut. They're obscene. I mean, people are saying it seems like it's a fairly common view that I would take Ja'Marr Chase over every single wide receiver except for Justin Jefferson. Some people are even saying that they would take him as the wide receiver 1 overall. I just think
this happens every year.
We saw this with CeeDee Lamb last year, and I think it's unnecessary. So I think that the most probable outcome is that take ages totally fine, and that Ja'Marr Chase continues to be awesome, because we always should have expected him to be awesome because his profile is awesome and he looks awesome and he's awesome. But like, it's just, to me, you're just buying risk for no reason if you're trading like DK Metcalf for Ja'Marr Chase. He's up over AJ Brown already on Keep Trade Cut. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. AJ Brown was the wide receiver 6 overall last year. I'm not sure. I know that he's injured right now. Whatever. He's going to miss this week with a hamstring, maybe next week. And then he's going to be back, and then he's going to be fine. It's just a lot of risk for me to take on with a guy that's played 4 freaking games. Look at Amari Cooper's first 4 games. They were phenomenal. Look at Sammy Watkins' first 8 games. They were absolutely phenomenal. Like, to me, it's just too much risk. At this point, the Ja'Marr Chase shares I'm blessed to have them. If someone wants to give me any of Metcalf or Jefferson or Brown or frankly, depending on the team and where it's at, Hill or Diggs, I'm certainly going to consider that very strongly. And if not, then I'll happily ride it out with Ja'Marr Chase because I think he's a baller. But I'm telling everybody to take like a little bit of a chill pill. But he's out here being an enabler.
I think that this is just the way I see the situation is that if you were going to buy Ja'Marr Chase, the time was 3 weeks ago, and in 3 weeks, it's going to be now. Like, I just think he's going to continue.
How much higher can it get? Like, what does it matter what he does? Like,
if he's already being, I agree with Jacob.
Does he outproduce DK Metcalf? Like, what am I gaining to go from Metcalf to Chase?
No, because they're absolutely feeding Joe Mixon the ball. They weren't last night, so this take is stuck right now. But they developed into this run-first offense that they are not going to stay as. Ja'Marr Chase was not playing a high percentage of snaps to start off the season. Like, he's just going to develop into a higher opportunity share to produce. Whether that becomes touchdowns or not, I get the touchdown is absolutely ridiculous here. I don't think Ja'Marr Chase is going to have 20 touchdowns. But I think he's in a situation where he's going to be able to produce, and he's going to be able to do that for 5 years because he's stuck to Joe Burrow.
Sure. I mean, that's a great argument for Ja'Marr Chase, but the cost you have to pay is a player who's already that.
Yes, that's why he's in the buy high segment. That's why he's
here's the thing. So maybe they wane off of Mixon like a little bit, like you're saying, or he gets hurt again or whatever, then Perine blows up. But Chase without T. Higgins the last couple of weeks still isn't the high target volume player we would expect with T. Higgins being gone. Uzama's apparently a big fucking deal in the offense right now as they're designing screenplays for him at the end of the game. So we don't know how that's going to trend. Look, without T. Higgins in the lineup,
I just want to be clear that I'm fighting Billy on this take by bringing up DK Metcalf, and Tom's like, what about CJ Uzama, though?
Look, I'm saying if you remove, just because you remove carries for Mixon doesn't immediately mean that Chase is necessarily going to just be funneled to. T. Higgins is going to come back and be healthy. Tyler Boyd is still there. And if other players start making plays, then Chase doesn't have that same funnel target share that other receivers have in that group. So if you're expecting the big 10 target, 11 target games from a team that actually doesn't look horrific on defense, I think, and their neutral script run game is, it's pretty freaking high right now.
It is right now. Billy, okay, I want to do a sanity check, the Jamar Chase sanity check. So because I don't want to I don't want to get painted as though I'm saying like Jamar Chase isn't going to be great, because I fully expect that he's going to be great.
Jacob, before you do this,
one for one, yeah.
But before you do this, I do agree with what you're saying. I wouldn't ship out Metcalf. I wouldn't ship out.
That's where we're going. So I want you to tell me. I'm going to just name names, and I want you to tell me when you would trade this person straight up for Jamar Chase, or that you would take Jamar Chase over them in the startup, because I know it's team dependent, right? So Justin Jefferson,
no.
Okay, DK Metcalf,
no.
Right, CeeDee Lamb,
no.
Probably not.
All right.
I was really a little tighter than I actually fully expected.
No, I mean, I would take Chase over Lamb. I actually would. I had Chase over Lamb in the preseason.
Interesting.
AJ Brown.
No.
Okay. Tyreek Hill.
No.
Him and Adams, no.
Okay.
But right around there, that's when I'm starting. Like Diggs is a no, and then there.
Okay. Well then. Okay, then I don't have any issue with your actual ranking. I just have issue
DJ
with
Moore.
I don't think you're going to be able to buy high, because I think you're already below the market.
I think we've missed it.
But
100%.
Jacob, you're going to love this. I'd be offering RB assets right now to get Jamar Chase in an instant.
Sure.
If I could, right? I have a bunch of young wide receiving cores on my teams. If I could get Jamar Chase for some aging RB asset or someone who's going to produce for the next 2 years.
Let's do this. Alvin Kamara. Would you draft him or trade for straight up Alvin Kamara?
1-to-1?
Yep. Jamar Chase.
I take Kamara.
I'll take Chase.
Okay. That's why I wanted to know. Derrick Henry?
Chase.
I'd Chase.
Nick Chubb?
Chase.
Well, I'm gonna ask Zeke for the people. Because we hate him, but other people don't. Dalvin Cook.
Probably Cook, yeah.
Interesting. So that's kind of where we're looking. Obviously, Barkley, we're taking Barkley. Taylor, we're taking Taylor.
Yeah.
Right? Swift. Okay.
Everyone else. The 5 running backs that I wouldn't trade for Chase would be McCaffrey, Taylor, Barkley, Cook, Swift. Every other running back.
Cook is interesting to me.
Cook
is interesting to me that you're that high.
I would trade Gibson for Chase. I would trade.
Interesting. Yeah. See, that was the name I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I would trade Gibson for Chase. I would trade Kamara for Chase. Everybody below them.
I think
Harris.
I think Gibson is the running back I'm not trading for Chase.
Oh, Najee.
I would trade.
Harris.
I was already taking Chase above Najee and Ricky drafts, and they both, I think, looked like what we wanted.
That's a good conversation about Jamar Chase. I like that. Let's move on to the next one. Jacob, this one is yours. Cobb salad. That's so funny. You've been waiting to talk about this big boy. I think his value is through the absolute fucking roof right now. I've seen some insane trades like Allen Robinson and Clyde for Mike Williams in a second. It's kind of insane. But Mike Williams, your guy right now.
I mean, this is a bit of a reversal. I was not a big Mike Williams guy at all in this offseason. I do have some shares in Dynasty, luckily. So while I was not drafting a whole lot of him in best ball season, I am overweight in Dynasty still. just because I was kind of interested to see, I felt like there was a lot of high variance here with that potential role change and just with how good Herbert is. And I think it's for real. He's 30% targets per route run this year, 26% overall target share. And the way that I always look at it with these things is it's sort of like, okay, if given the information that we have, if we sort of take both assumptions, right? So we start with assumption A is that this is totally for real. And then assumption 2 is that this is a blip. And it's like, how would this look? How would this go in each of those assumptions? And it's like, what is just changing? Is it just the numbers changing or other things changing? And to me, it's just kind of a straight shot. Like, they have a new coaching staff. The coaching staff said, we're going to use Mike Williams in a whole new role. And then he got a whole new role. And then all of his numbers looked really great. And it's like, oh, okay. I kind of have to buy into this. I'm not sure if he's going. I guess the only reason I'm not like fully in is because it's a contract year. And maybe if he gets signed to a different team, the role isn't this good. But if he stays in the Chargers with Herbert for the foreseeable future and Keenan Allen's not getting any younger, I think this is one of those opportunities, kind of like Stephon Diggs last year, where I bought a ton of Stephon Diggs early in the season because a lot of people had Diggs where they're like, okay, he's an efficient player, right? He's always been an efficient player, but he's never been this volume monster. And then he got this volume monster role, and it was a whole new situation. And I was like, you know what? I'm willing to just pay, I'm willing to pay more. I'm willing to pay 150% more than he's worth the offseason, because I think he's going to be worth 150% more than that 4 weeks from now. Yes. And I certainly don't regret any of the deals that I made for Diggs at this point last offseason. I'm willing to buy high on Mike Williams. I will trade a first for Mike Williams. I will trade similarly valued players in that wide receiver 20 to 24 range for Mike Williams. I'll give people that had him their cash out. And I will take the buy high bet on Mike Williams. I'm a believer.
Okay. Mike Williams or Chris Godwin rest of season?
Rest of season, Mike Williams. I would still prefer Godwin in Dynasty.
Okay. Mike Williams or DJ Moore rest of season?
Oh, DJ Moore. DJ Moore is not roll right
now. Mike Williams or Terry McLaurin rest of season?
I'll take Mike Williams rest of season, but again, McLaurin's still in Dynasty.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of where I wanted to know, because he does look that good, but he's not the elite player, at least throughout his career, so people are sour. Billy, where are you with Mike Williams right now? And are you as willing to go and get him for those prices, which seems steep?
Yeah, I'm kind of having a coming to God moment on Mike Williams, and I've kind of been doing this the last couple days, because I was sitting there and every argument I have against Mike Williams, of course it's an argument. Yeah. Like, injuries is always going to be a thing, no matter the player. Like, right. Mike Williams had some injury stuff, but I don't buy into injury prone, so whatever. And then the fact that he played really good teams the first couple of weeks, like he was in competitive game scripts the entire time. Like, those I think are the only two biggest things. But part of me is like, he's not going to catch the amount of touchdowns he's going to. Whatever. He had 7 catches for 122 yards. Like, if he's not catching touchdowns in this game, his floor is 16 fantasy points. Like, it's like that. That's just who he is. So long as he's healthy and he's maintaining this target share, which I see no reason he shouldn't, because he's producing with it. Like, hell yeah, Mike Williams. I'm not going to go out and, rest of the season, if I'm in a redraft right now, I'll pay a lot for him. Dynasty, I'm not going to go out and pay the moon. But
so are you paying the first round? Are you paying the first round pick, or like Jacob is, or are you?
Yeah, but I'm bad with draft picks, so that might be a bad take for me.
Okay, fair.
It would have to be. It would have to be a draft pick that I'm quite confident is late. So
right.
I wouldn't want to give a 23 first because there's too much variance on that. But I would give like the 22 first from a 2-1 or 3-0 team that looks really strong.
Like I if I thought I was giving away the 106, I wouldn't get that for Mike Williams.
That's fair. All right. We're gonna do some buying cheap, and then we're gonna move on to our picks. We're gonna hear from the guys from What's the Spread, and we're gonna get out of here. So sit tight with us here. Look, we're gonna do buying cheap. So players who may have lost some value after a few rough weeks, but contenders should be looking to capitalize. I did reference one of these players when it came to a trade for Mike Williams. Look, the time It's always been get Allen Robinson a quarterback. And then the Chicago Bears drafted Justin Fields. And then it was he finally got a quarterback. And after one game, I'm seeing all over the timeline, Allen Robinson would look great in a Bears uniform. Get Allen Robinson a coach. Get Allen Robinson an experienced quarterback. And I even found myself begging for Mitch Trubisky to come out of the tunnel like Shane Falco in The Replacements to feed Allen Robinson. Billy, why are you still willing, aside from being an absolute fanboy of Allen Robinson? Why should people trust your take, not being just purely biased as to why contenders should be looking to get Allen Robinson?
Right. There's been a trend going on this season, and it feels like it's been more prominent this season than it has the last couple, and it's been throwaway games where these teams come out, and we saw it with the Packers week 1, Saints week 2, the Bears did it in week 3 now. Those are the first ones that come to my mind, where they come out and from the start, they lose the game. Like they
lost the game in the meeting rooms.
As they walk out the tunnel, the score is ticking up. And that's kind of what happened in this Bears game, where they went out week 1 and just sucked. Like week 3 and just sucked. Looked absolutely atrocious. And we saw it with the Packers, we saw it with the Saints, where they did make this bounce back. Now, what you think of the Bears is totally fine. I hate Matt Nagy. I think Matt Nagy is probably going to be gone by at least week 8. And it seems like they want him gone. But there were people in the offseason who said Justin Fields was their number 1 quarterback.
Sure.
There were players, there were very, very smart, well-respected fantasy people who were all over Justin Fields. And I'm not going to toss that out after one completely throwaway game. Just
nor should you. Nor should
I think that's absolutely rough. One thing that's been consistent with Allen Robinson is he's getting good target share. It looks bad in that Cleveland game, but keep in mind Justin Fields only threw 20 passes. So something we just need to kind of push that away. Allen Robinson week 2 after Andy Dalton went down.
Fewest attempts in the league right now.
Yeah. Week 2 after Andy Dalton went down, Allen Robinson should have had a touchdown. He let sail through his hands. One of the few times in his career you'll ever see him
tough day for the fan club. Tough day for the fan club.
We talk about probabilities a lot in fantasy football, and
I do.
I do as well. That's what I got my master's in. But we talk about probabilities.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
I'm just a blue collar guy that handles the show.
That's all I do is work with probabilities.
Fuck.
But that is what we have to talk about. And the probabilities in 90% of scenarios is that Justin Fields is not as bad as we watched on Sunday, and that Allen Robinson 9 times out of 10 catches those passes, that touchdown. I'm not going to be one to play the horseshoes and hand grenades. That if Allen Robinson caught that ball, Justin Fields' stats goes up.
Sounds like you're playing a little horseshoes right now.
But I'm saying most of the time Allen Robinson is going to catch that ball, and I think we all agree on that. I think right now Allen Robinson is the cheapest he's going to be as he's a Bear. And I think there's a real chance that Squeaky Wheel's going to get the grease going into next week, and they're going to get him the ball a lot. And you know who they're playing? The fucking Lions.
Yeah, who are going to beat the Bears, by the way.
They are.
If the Lions
are going to win that game, they're going to eat their fucking kneecaps.
Right, but here's what we're looking at for Allen Robinson the rest of the season. So Detroit, who has played well, Vegas, iffy. Then you get Green Bay, Tampa, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
That's rough in the middle.
That is rough. Even though Baltimore's defense hasn't looked great, you got to assume that they're going to try to lock down A-Rob. So
I'll agree, but the thing is, only one of those teams have looked like world beaters.
Right.
And
so
they got smoked by the Rams last week. So.
Rest of season, Allen Robinson, wide receiver.
I think he's going to finish as a low-end wide receiver 1 still.
Oh, okay.
I think he's going to push
that's
to
higher
still be
than
that
me.
machine.
I was gonna say like 24.
Like
How about this?
Had...
You want to make a bet live on air? Mike Williams versus Allen Robinson rest of the season?
Sure, why not? That's fun.
Okay. Let's.
We can do
Tom,
that.
Can you make some terms?
Wait,
I want them to be funny.
Hang on, Jacob. This works. We can do that to replace the broken Calvin Ridley and Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Okay.
So rest of the season. So
which works because Mike Williams is the new Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Week 4 on. Straight up, no points per game, just straight up.
Straight up, war of attrition. The battle of attrition.
Winner decides what the other one drinks for the draft show.
Okay, done. Virtual handshake.
Sure, straightforward.
I'm now Mike Williams truther. Look at that.
I love it. I love it.
Look, if I'm fading Allen Robinson after 2 games with the amount of love I've had for him, I never truly loved him. So I think that's got to be my take.
And I'm gonna make sure that you truly love your drink next draft show.
All right, that's fine.
God. I love it. Okay, look, Jacob, for you.
Yeah.
This player right here is a player we have faded our entire fantasy life, it feels like. He's not a player that we actively go and acquire in the draft season. We don't.
Wait, who is this?
Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
This is a player that we have eaten shit for our dislike of this player. He's one of Tom Lee's favorites, and he hasn't looked great out the gate, and I think it's because Matt Ryan sucks. But it's Calvin Ridley. Why are you willing to buy in on Calvin Ridley right now, and why do you think he's going to turn it around?
Yes, sorry, I got the queue mixed up. I thought this was the 201 that we had to cut to make room, and I was like, "What? I always like 201." Anyway, no, Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I had this revelation on Twitter that my account, which has always been a Jamar Chase account, is no longer a Jamar Chase account. I'm now a Calvin Ridley account. We know that I don't like Calvin Ridley. In fact, the first bet that would still be live right now, and frankly, looking pretty good for me, if Michael Thomas didn't need a second straight surgery, was me betting against Calvin Ridley. But I think we have finally reached a point of equilibrium. I have called Calvin Ridley my eternal falling knife, where every time that I realize that I'm too low, the knife just gets further and further away from me. I'm not able to keep up. But all of a sudden, gravity has pulled the knife from the ashes like Excalibur and has come back towards my hand. Calvin Ridley right now, I put out a tweet. I said, if you have Cooper Kupp on your roster and you're not trying to trade them for either AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, or Calvin Ridley in Dynasty, like, I don't know what to tell you except that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And people kept being in the comments. Why would I trade Kupp for Ridley? Why would I trade Kupp for Ridley? Why would I trade Kupp for Ridley?
Do that.
Look, I wouldn't do it rest of the season, but in Dynasty, come on, folks. The difference between these two players is huge. The biggest season that Cooper Kupp had prior to this season, of course, is 2019. He was at a 20.8% target share. He had 1,100 yards on 90 catches. Calvin Ridley, totally different class. Like, he had a 26% target share last year. He had nearly 1,400 yards on 90 catches. He is an alpha wide receiver, and he's playing like it this year. He's still at a 26% target share. He's third in the entire NFL in air yard share. Yes, Matt Ryan looks pretty dust. He's either going to turn it around or they're going to get him a new quarterback. It's only going to go one of two ways for Calvin Ridley. His situation's going to improve. Is it plausible that Cooper Kupp at age 27 or 28 or whatever he is now actually just a ridiculously elite wide receiver, and he's elevated himself from a really good zone beater to an all-around Devontae Adams? It's plausible, but I don't think it's very likely. I think it's more likely that Cooper Kupp is what he's always been, which is a low-end wide receiver one, now in a perfect situation. Really, really good player, excellent against zone, still a little bit limited. And I don't think that Calvin Ridley is that guy. I think you need to go and make an offer for Calvin Ridley in all formats, because I still think he has the same upside that people were ascribing him to earlier in the season. Still a top 10 dynasty wide receiver for me, and should be a massive target.
See, that's interesting. I would not trade Cooper Kupp for Calvin Ridley. I just wouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't
Prisoner
do it.
Of the moment.
I'm not. I have always been a Cooper Kupp guy.
I know he has. He
forever.
Yeah, I know. You're a white supremacist.
Okay, easy.
Wow. Jesus.
That's all right.
Ugh.
Let that
You
be
and Matt
stricken
Stafford.
from the
You
record.
and Matt Stafford.
Look, I think Cooper Kupp's problem is that he had a Jared Goff issue and a Todd Gurley issue, and that's no longer the case. Cooper Kupp is strapped to the better quarterback for the foreseeable future in the better offense, and I think in time Calvin Ridley won't even be the alpha of that offense. I think his name will be Kyle Pitts.
Possible.
I just, and also Ridley's 26. We're not talking about a guy who's 23, 24, really going to get that age advantage. I'll take the better player right now on the better offense, who is the focal point right now over Calvin Ridley personally. And that's even in Dynasty. So,
would those thoughts change if the player was 24 and 26?
No.
Because that's the age separation, because Cooper Kupp's 28.
Yeah. What did I say?
I was saying if you shifted him down.
2-year gap.
Oh, yeah. No, like it's not. Look, Calvin Ridley is the oldest young guy in the NFL that people want to ignore.
Him and McLaurin, because they were both like really old rookies.
Right. And so I'm just, for me, it's the matter of like, I'll take the guy who's attached to that offense, who's going to give me the week-to-week production, where Calvin Ridley, he's going into a really rough part of his career, I feel like, with the Matt Ryan situation, the coaching situation, the team philosophy possibly changing. The whole team is an absolute disaster. That's just a situation I want to avoid in Dynasty. Like if you're talking like Ridley and a first for Cooper Kupp, yeah, sure, I would go and do that because people live in the moment, right? Like I've been accused of. But I'm gonna have to pull up old league chats from 2019 now about Cooper Kupp. But look,
he's crushing again. He's gonna be good.
I know, I understand that he's probably a top 5 guy again this year right now. He could score 18 touchdowns. It's gonna be insane. But I just wouldn't. To me, Ridley is not a game changer for me personally. I think last year was a perfect scenario for him, and I just don't think he's that guy. Anything to add, Billy, before we move on to our picks?
No, not really. I think I've talked enough about Calvin Ridley, and I don't know what to think about Cooper Kupp. So let's just move into the segment I'm winning.
Fuck off. Okay, look,
Jeez.
Before we do that, we're going to hear from the guys from What's the Spread. Andy finally got his first fucking win of the year. He seemed pretty clutch by that. I know Dan kind of downplayed it, Mr. Hotshot there, as he took an L. If you missed the fantasy walkabout where we talked about their review. So we're going to hit the What's the Spread 2-minute drill. They're going to give you some lead pipe locks for this week and help you win some money and enjoy the Big Ten. And we come back, Billy's going to fucking boast about him absolutely waxing Jacob and I in the weekly picks.
Okay, I don't know if waxing is quite the most accurate term for you beating me by like 1 or 2 points.
It is what it has felt like.
Winless.
And I have had my chest waxed before, and I know how painful that fucking is, especially as an Italian. So here's the guy from What's the Spread. Enjoy that image.
This is What's the Spread, the 2-minute drill presented by Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast Network. Dan Starr, Andy Starr. Last week, Andy got us going with his lead pipe lock of the week. I kind of fell off a little bit, but I'm here to get you guys some money. Andy, start us off. What's your lead pipe lock of the week?
So I'm looking at Minnesota at Purdue. Purdue is a 2.5-point favorite at home. Minnesota looks absolutely atrocious after losing as a 31-point favorite to Bowling Green last week. Tanner Morgan was awful. 5 for 13, 59 yards, and 2 interceptions. The only thing that this offense can do is hand the ball off to Trason Potts, and Purdue's just not going to let that happen. Their rush defense is okay, only giving up about 124 yards per game. And if David Bell comes back, which I think he will, this is going to get out of hand early. This Purdue passing attack is going to be able to put up points, and I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to score much. So give me Purdue minus 2.5.
I like it. That, folks, is also my lead pipe lock of the week. Hammer it, 3-unit whale. But I'm going to give you my bonus pick of the week. Outside of the Big Ten, I'm looking at the American Conference. Houston, Friday night, is playing at Tulsa. Tulsa's favored by 4.5. Houston, you look at their wins, only 3 wins on the season against Rice, Grambling, Navy. Combined, only 2 wins out of that group, and both against FCS opponents. Their loss by Texas Tech was by 17 points, and Texas Tech hasn't been all that good either. I look at Tulsa. They're not very good on paper, but their losses are against top talent. Oklahoma State, close. They were winning in the fourth quarter. Ohio State, they were within 7. So I look for Tulsa to win this game easily at home under the lights Friday night. Take it. This is what's the spread?
Oh, shit. Oh, no, I had a bit. Oh, damn it.
Well, now you're just a bit late.
All right.
You talk bad about Texas Tech.
Oh,
all right. I've never changed so quickly in my life.
It was late, but it was worth it. It was late, but it was worth it.
We started with Raider talk, and now we're closing with Red Raider talk.
Yeah, 100%.
Rest in peace, like Tyler. We'll miss you.
Yeah, I like those guys, man. Their show is a lot of fun. Go check it out there on wherever you can get your podcast from. That is What's the Spread. They have some really good info about Big Ten football, and I find myself watching Big Ten football while I'm editing all day Saturday. So great times. All right, Billy, it's your fucking time to shine here. Update the people on the fucking weekly picks.
As I've now taken a 3-0 lead in the weekly picks, I've decided to be the bigger man. Oh, that's what the big
because you're Big Billy.
It has no reference to my weight. So besides that, I will be continuing to be the bigger man, and I'm offering a chance to both Jacob.
Why don't you change it to fucking at magnanimous Billy FF?
Jacob and Tom had the chance to combine their picks, and because I'm such a good man, I'll give them a point if they win each. So, you know what? They can only be 2 games back each instead of 3.
Okay, look, so Big Billy is just making the rules now as we go along for the show. We got to catch up to him so we can.
Don't let me make the show sheets. I have too much power.
No one man should have all that power.
Oh my God! So look, last week's picks. Again, as Billy said, he won. He had Derek Carr, Miles Gaskin, Devontae Smith, Gerald Everett. He put up 48.8 points. Jacob went Lawrence Fournette, who's a big fanboy of now.
Fuck
Chase
Fournette, man. Like,
Goddard.
Really, we had to get. This is the week we had to get the Gio Bernard 10-target game this week.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then I went Justin Fields, who laid an absolute egg on the field at 3.9 points. Chase Edmonds balled out 14.5. Hollywood big drop fucking Brown cost me like 15 points, which would have given me the win. Bullshit. And then Austin Hooper did his super lame 10 points at tight end this week. Billy, who are your picks for this week?
You want me to just run down all of them?
Run them the fuck down.
All right, the big
Jacob needs to go to bed, it looks like.
Picks of the week. I'm taking my MVP, my hero, Taylor Heineke against Atlanta. I'm taking Darrell Henderson, the prodigal son, coming back with the Rams. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I can't do this character too much. I'm taking Brandon Ayuk with a banged-up George Kittle to go absolutely nuclear with San Francisco. And then, just because he sucked on Monday night and gave me the win, I'm bringing Dallas Goedert over onto my team to go nuclear in my tight end slot. Those are your locked and loaded picks. I'll see y'all at 4-0.
Oh my God!
Wow, I like
we're gonna have a nuclear winter.
You're big energy, Billy, with those picks.
I'm out of Red Bull, so.
Tom, how are we doing this? How are we arranging our picks? Are we going to alternate here, or do you want to?
We'll alternate. You can start.
Okay, all right. So starting up at quarterback. Look, this game pretty high total. We got it up at 52 over under. That's the kind of environment I want for my streamers. Much to Mike Zimmer's chagrin, the Minnesota Vikings are once again an offense-first team. They have been struggling on the defensive end. You know who has not been struggling is a man who has beaten the Texas Tech Red Raiders many times after he left the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Baker Mayfield has been balling out very quietly this year because the Browns have been running so much because they've been ahead basically the whole season. But this game, I think it's going to be back and forth. It should be competitive. He's not playing against Matt Nagy anymore. I'm excited to see Baker have to air it out a few times to OBJ, who's back and looking dang good. Give me Baker, top 12 quarterback this week, planting the flag against Minnesota.
Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, look, this might be the only time Dalvin Cook gets into the parameters.
This is such a loophole.
Underneath RB18.
It's a risk. He could not play. We could be getting a zero at running back.
Not playing, but if he does play, I think we got this week in the fucking bag. Because Cleveland is susceptible to some running, even though their pass rush is unreal. We're gonna take Dalvin Cook going for 30 fucking points against the Browns just to throw it in Billy's face. Who we got at receiver this week?
Look, I have to take this one because God knows I wouldn't be able to convince you to say it.
Nope.
We already talked about Chase Claypool. He's got the hamstring pulled up, gimpy. Deontay Johnson going against Billy's favorite cornerback, Jair Alexander, and Big Ben not going to be throwing downfield. What does that mean? He's going to be throwing to glorified tight end Juju Smith-Schuster many, many times in comeback mode against the Green Bay Packers. I am projecting 12 targets, 8 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown.
Wow, that's huge. That'd be huge. Right now, on our projections alone, we are dusting this week.
Yeah, I took Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, hey, Taylor Heineke is going to be great. I'm going to talk about
that's
that game
my
hero. Sign off here, but look, Evan Ingram at tight end. Everyone is out in New York, and Kadarius Toney still absolutely 100% of the time sucks. So the targets have to get funneled somewhere, and I think it's going to be Barkley, who we can't use because he's not 50-50 to play, but we can use El Drapo Dinero, Evan Ingram. If he stays into the game, we could be seeing a 12-target game from him. I have him at 12 targets, 6 receptions for 61 yards, and we'll give him a score just for fun. For the upset win from the boys against Billy. We couldn't beat him in Stat Corner. We're going to beat him in the Pics this week.
As y'all's competitor, I don't like your team at all. like, as someone who has to go against that, I'm not a fan.
Anytime you can get Dalvin Cook outside the top 20, we got
it is cheap. Look,
it's an upsetting play.
I logged into the StreamYard about 5 minutes before we started. I was like, who the hell are we going to pick at running back? And I was like, oh, well,
look,
I think we got to risk it for the biscuit. Come on, Dalvin.
As we sign off today, I want final thoughts and your favorite game of the weekend, and you can let everyone know what you got going on. So, Jacob, we're going to start with you. Favorite game of the weekend, what do you have happening? And let them all know.
Man, I think the game that I am most excited to watch is going to be the Seattle and San Francisco game. I think this is a big week, I think, for what we get out of Trey Lance for the rest of the season, because Jimmy Garoppolo almost led the miraculous comeback last week against the Green Bay Packers. Of course, he had to come back from his own horrendous mistake, throwing the ball backwards on a glorified spike. Mm-hmm. However, he gets an opportunity now against Seattle to cement themselves, at least as that one of the top 2 teams in that NFC West division. If they win that game, they're at home. That probably pushes back the timeline quite a bit on when potentially we see Trey Lance. If they lose this game, that's when you start to see the questions. Okay, Jimmy, whatever. You beat the Lions and the Eagles, lost to the Packers, lost to the Seahawks. The media is going to start wanting to see Lance. I think this is a really, really key game. I'm also excited to see Brandon Ayuk finally getting a full bevy of snaps last week. Let's see what happens with him this week. And it's always fun to watch Russ cook with DK and Lockett. So excited to see that one.
100%. Billy, favorite game and final thoughts heading into week 4.
All right. I really thought I was going to have the game of the week because I was sure all 3 of us were going to take the same one. I am so flippin' excited to watch Tom Brady play the Patriots.
It's going to be boring. They're going to win 56-10.
I don't care. I want Brady to throw 9 touchdowns and 1,500 yards in a game. I want him to absolutely go nuclear just because one of my best friends is a Pat fan. I want Tom Brady to just spank the fucking Patriots. But all that besides the point. You can find me on Twitter, BigBillyFF. I don't got a lot of fun stuff to plug right now. The semester started off, so I'm kind of hitting the books. Preview 22 is going to be starting back up. I can't wait to talk about Spencer Rattler. We're going to be looking. You can always find me over at Dynasty Nerds. Yeah, I have an unproductive week ahead of me, which is probably not a good sign. I should probably add some stuff to do.
No kidding. Look, my favorite game of this week, one that I'm absolutely looking forward to, is it's kind of obvious, but it's Arizona and the Rams. I think that game is going to be absolutely insane. I'm smashing the over. It's going to be one of my favorite games to bet on.
It's the best division in football right now.
100%. It is exciting. I think that game could easily be a 42-35 type game. And, the wide receiver one, Cooper Kupp, is going to absolutely eat in that game.
I can't wait for Cooper Kupp to once again just own my life.
100.
He's the new Calvin Ridley. I titled my DFS column Cooper Kupp Falling Knife this week. Because
that's hilarious. That's my favorite game of the week. And look, as for my final thoughts, enjoy the week of football this week. Let's stop worrying so much about people's takes as games are happening, right? Let's take the time. Last week, with everything that happened with tags, I actually found myself paying more attention to the games themselves and less about what was going on in the Twitter world and on Sleeper itself. Try to actually enjoy the games of football that we're watching. And if you just care about the numbers, enjoy your box scores and your week of research too. And just have a good time and be kind to people as always. I am, of course, your host with the most time in his hands. I'm Tom Simple FF. You can catch me Sunday morning, start and sit with Fantasy Intervention. And then you can catch me Sunday night on the Dynasty review show at Dynasty Happy Hour Podcast with Santos and Chase Vernon. Looking forward to see everyone there. See you in the chats. Don't overreact. Jamar Chase is not the wide receiver one. And like I always say, clear eyes, full hearts can never lose. And that the best days are always spent tilting. Good night, everybody. Peace out. Much love and take care this weekend.
It says here we should work in teams. Who wants to be my spotter?
I don't think you should be doing too much gambling tonight, Alan.
Gambling? Who said anything about gambling? It's not gambling when you know you're going to win.